slave trade, they were taken to England, they were taken to Belgium, they were taken to Denmark, they were also taken to America and many other nations. So the blacks that ended up in America today who call themselves American don't even realize that they were not originally American, they are originally African. So it'd be proper to call them African Americans. African Americans have a true heritage with the Elohim of Israel. They indeed are the Hebrew Israelites of ancient times. How do we know that? How can I prove that? Very easy. From the very same scriptures I hold in my hand, the Bible. If we look at Hosea chapter 11 verse 11, it says that they will tremble out of Mitzrayim. Now this is out of the AFNHSS Bible I hold in my hand. What does this Mitzrayim word mean? It means people of black skin. Mitzrayim is a Hebrew word used for Egypt, which means black face. It doesn't mean a white face, it doesn't mean an Asian looking face like mine, but it does mean a black face. However, we know that the common ancestors of many nations were the black people, Africans, the common ancestors. So if they're going to be trembling out of Mitzrayim and it says as a dove out of Assyria, shouldn't you be asking the question, where is Mitzrayim? Where is Assyria? Well, if you look here, Assyria is this part of the region where my stick is now, pointing to Iran, pointing to Iraq, pointing to Turkey, pointing to Arabia. These were the regions, and also going further east towards India, Pakistan. We have to understand that these were the regions that were occupied by the Assyrians, and they were ruling these regions. Well, if they are coming out of those regions alongside the west, and Mitzrayim, we know Mitzrayim is here. If we look at Egypt here, we know that it is directly not only west but south of Israel, southwest. We have Libya southwest, Algeria west. We have Mauritania. So we have Nigeria, we have Mali, we have Sudan. We have all these nations that are sitting west of Israel, and then the next nation that is west of Israel here is Spain. Spain, you know, that had a large number of Sephardic Jews. So they were also part of the Israelites. And the other parts of western lands, Brazil. Brazil has a large number of Hebrew Israelites. We have America. America has a large number, and even Canada has Hebrew Israelites. But these Canada and United States of America are the further western lands. Immediate west to Israel is Africa. So they were driven out, and we know from history that they ended up in African lands. From Africa we know that they migrated to India, and if we trace the common ancestors of the Indians in the past, you will find out that the common ancestors were black. The one common ancestor was black. And the other thing is, even in China, even as distant as China here in the east, the common ancestor to the Chinese, who today are yellow, was actually a black man. And I would suggest to you very strongly that the Hebrew Israelites were black. The customs today of the African nations, you will find, was very particularly linked to Hebrew Israelite customs. Now, this may come as a shock to many of you. This may come as a shock to many of you because you've been taught that, you know, the children of Israel are in England, and they are in Belgium and in Denmark, and they are the white folks or the Europeans. No, they are not. In fact, if you find the practices, one of the practices that the Hebrew Israelite customs has was a polygamy. That was a practice that you find predominantly in the east, Pakistan, India, Iran, and also in the west, meaning Algeria, Sudan, Nigeria. These practices still continue over there. Even though they have gone through many religions over here, Islam rules dominantly in many of these parts, and there's Christianity, but these people have never given up their culture. The Nigerians, for instance, Christians, don't stop having two wives. They still have two wives, many of the people. Even though the Western Europeans reject the idea of having two wives, and they want monogamous single relationships, you find that the Western people, including the American people, are stuck in their monogamous past, which was from the Romans and from the Greeks. And the past, not only from the Romans and the Greeks, that one attribute shows us that it was also a common habit of the Grecians to have a wife and have a boyfriend. They were into homosexuality as well. So we find the same situation in England, in America. Today homosexuality is given the thumbs up. People are happy with homosexuality. They're not happy with polygamy. Why? Because these people were never part of the Hebrew Israelites. They kept their customs, and they still sneer at the customs of Hebrew Israelites. Hebrew Israelites, on the other hand, they don't have a problem with single marriages or dual marriages. Why? Because they were Hebrew Israelites. These are part of the laws of the Bible. When a brother dies, then the living brother has to take on the widow to give her sons. Where is the widow going to go? If the widow doesn't get taken over by the son as a wife, as a second wife, where is she going to go? There was no social security system. There was no support system for them. And the divorcee, where were the divorcees going to go? Today the divorcees in the West can get social security. The widows can get social security. Nevertheless, these customs that still inhabit these areas of the east and the west of Israel, you must understand that they tell us something about these people's culture and ancient lands. For instance, if you go to Ghana today, down here, you will find that the Ghanaians have a tribe called the Ashanti. The Ashanti tribe are from an area they identify in Israel called Ashan. Ashan is a Hebrew word that means smoke, and it relates to the burning. Why? Because when the Jerusalem was burning, these people left Israel and they ended up in these African regions. These Ashanti people, they identify their Almighty Creator as someone called Yeme, or they have the word spelled is N-N-Y-E-M-E, O-N-Y-E-M-E, Onyeme, but they don't pronounce the O and the N. So the Yeme, the word M, the letter M, is interchangeable in the ancient Ashanti language with W. There would be Yahweh. Yahweh is a term for Yud-He Vav-He, which many people pronounce like myself, Yahweh. Some of you pronounce as Yahuwah. However, that tells us something about the Ashanti people in Africa. Ashanti people are Hebrew people. They still have the custom of the woman separating after for the menstruation period, 7 days. They still have the custom of circumcising their children. But show me these customs in the Americans. Show me these customs in the British people. You won't find them. They don't exist. Because these people in the British Islands, in the American Islands, the people who are today Americans, I'm talking about the Caucasians, white people, they are quite happy to live monogamous lives, and they're quite happy to live in non-religious lives, such as women don't have to separate, they don't like getting circumcised. These were Hebrew customs, and these customs are despised in the West. Yet these customs are not despised in the East, in Pakistan, in Iran, in all the other countries. Whether the people are Muslim or not is irrelevant. Even if they were not Muslim, they don't really care. They will still circumcise their children. So we know from biblical history, if you go to Hosea 11:11, Hosea 11:10, these people who are coming as trembling from the West are no other than the Hebrew black people. So my friends, if you look at Isaiah chapter 11 verse 11, where Yahweh talks about bringing them out the second time, Yahweh says very clearly what lands He's calling them out of. He talks about the land of Mitzrayim, talks about Assyria. He doesn't say, I'm going to call you out of England. But I know that there are Hebrew Israelites in England, in small numbers. There are Hebrew Israelites in America, possibly in larger numbers, being the black people, and the black people who are mixed in with other people in America. So, yes, Hashem, He will call many people out. Yes, He will. But the original Hebrew Israelites are black people. Yehoshua, our master, commanded us in Matthew chapter 15 verse 24, says, go and seek the lost sheep, the prostituting sheep of the house of Israel. If we are not doing that today, then our being in Christianity or whatever religion we want to call ourselves in is a waste of time. Our goal and our mission is to go and teach Torah and reconcile those people back to the Elohim of Israel here. And if all you're doing is reconciling the people back to your denomination and denominational agendas and views, and the 38,000 denominations that Christianity has, then I'm afraid you failed the mission. You cannot be called a disciple of Yehoshua, the Master. If you're a disciple of Yehoshua, the Master, you'll be teaching Torah to the people. You'll be reconciling the people back to Israel, both spiritually, and one day will come that they will be physically reunited back to Israel. Yahweh even said so far that He will raise up people even when they are dead in those lands, and He will take them back. So my friends, I'd like to thank you. Your host, Rabbi Simon Altaf. If you wish to know more, I suggest you get the Hebraic Study Bible, Abrahamic Faith, Netzarim, Hebraic Study Scriptures. This will help you in your quest not only to teach and study Torah, but also to identify the real people. This is your call now, as it was one day from the Master, to go and reach out to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, who were not only prostituting back then, but many still are prostituting today, into false religions, paganism, and all sorts of wrong things. And when we get back to Torah and the Messiah, we reject all of that and we come back to the living Elohim, Yud He Vav He. Thank you for listening. Shalom, shalom.